Hi all and welcome back to my channel of An Everyday Life on Aspie. If you're new to my channel, I welcome you all. I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness and sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome and the like, along with tips and advice along the way, be it your general health versus your mental health, as well as advocating for people that is on the spectrum to give a little voice and a helping hand here and there based on the everyday struggles that we go through in our everyday lives, regardless what it may be. So you may be thinking, as I said, that this is going to be a second part to this two-part series of the Autism and series, which is this Autism and Perfectionism. Just a brief overview of what I've done so far is basically I talked about my life experiences as well as the pros and cons of the actual disorder or condition, and it's a well-known common trait obviously for many of us on the autistic spectrum. And also in saying this, that basically us Aspies do struggle with this as well as just the NTs, and sometimes we just tend to deal with it the best way we can, even though sometimes many people tend to just give us a hard time regardless what it may be. As I said before, also in saying this, I also defined what perfectionism is in a sense. Basically, even though we know that perfectionism to many people will be defined as different meanings towards them as well as whatever it may be. So basically, also in saying this, hopefully you're enjoying these. Smash the like and comment below. Let me know also based on the terms of events if you want to see more of the Autism series or anything that is health related, or even just feel free to comment below to let me know. And while you're down there, if you want to join me on the bandwagon, I usually do this on the daily, Monday to Friday, or 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to basically bring out these topics and more, hopefully. But bear with me, in some cases some will need to be more in-depth research so I can give you the right accurate information to educate you all and motivate you all, versus just to do what I can regardless what it may be, so that hopefully we can get into play so that I don't get slapped on the knuckles by someone. Or even in saying this though, just bear in mind also in saying this that every autistic is different. So if you see an autistic out there, basically just remember that not all of us are put in the same box of traits or what have you. Every autistic will have their valuable traits, whatever it may be, as well as their quirks. So it's all about acceptance and actually understanding them from their world of opinions and how they see the world differently. In saying this also, just to bear in mind that some of the stuff that I may share, regardless if it's autism related or not, are based on my life experiences versus basically also just based on my research, or even just what I have actually learnt through the past or present life of living, regardless what it is before my diagnosis, during or after, of some of these health related topics. Some may not be, but just bear in mind that these are just based on my personal opinions as well of some of the things I want to share with you all that are the sensitive topics. So please respect my opinions as I would with you guys when it comes down to either commenting or just wanting me to view you guys' channel. It's a matter of just respecting each other and actually supporting each other, because I'm tired of all this negativity, which I'm going to share more based on the online bullying and that later on of my experiences and that, and maybe how to cope with it. If you guys want to see that, let me know, as well as maybe some other topics listed below. Also, in saying this too, and once you're down there, if you did decide to subscribe, feel free to actually turn on the notification bell, because as we know, sometimes YouTube tends to forget to send out notifications to people about everyday new topics that comes out, regardless what it is. Enough of the jibber jabber, let's just get on with it, and hopefully you're enjoying these as well. So as I said, this is part 2. This is a friendly advice or tips from an Aspie to give to you guys based on the Autism and Perfectionism, how to help someone that you love and care about that may be autistic on the spectrum, be it a child or a student or whatever it may be, and hopefully we can just make life easier for them as well as manageable. So number 1 is, before doing a task, maybe give an example of how things should be come about, regardless what it may be. Sometimes, as we know, autistics and many other people may be visual learners, so therefore maybe just give them some form of maybe a diagram of some kind or some sort of schedule or whatever it may be, to give them that peace of mind on how it should look. and know when enough is enough, or you know when is good enough and whatnot. Even though you got to just remember that, you know, people's definition of good enough versus the best ability is different as well. Number 2, just give gentle reminders of the mistakes that has been made, basically as a part of learning. You know, how you address this is crucial as well, in a way of speaking to a child or whoever on the spectrum, because most autistics are literal thinkers, and they may take things literally to what you're saying, and they'll grasp onto it and actually ruminate it through and through to the point of no return, obviously. And that in saying this, they'll might think in the back of their head that, you know, this is not good enough, or I'm not good enough, and all these other self-doubts patterns or self-negative thinking back in the mindset, regardless what it may be. So some autistic may like gentle reminders about, hey, you know, you've done the best you can, you know, this is how you should do it. Maybe guide them through it with an example, you know, of whatever it may be. Here, say, maybe if you're sitting down with an autistic that's doing some sketches, here, say, guide them through it, and then just say to them, you know, you've done your best, you know, of the learning curve of what you're doing right now. Maybe that, again, example wise of this person doing artwork, and then just, you know, instead of giving them praises, just say this is just a learning curve. We all make mistakes regardless of our everyday life, and hopefully they can accept that, and in saying this, they'll be able to either A, let go of it and try not to dwell on it, even though many of us tend to do anyway, regardless what it may be. So tip number 3, basically, keeping priorities straight. We need to remind ourselves, not just on the people on the spectrum, but just people in general of the NTs, to know what this is important and what is not important. Some of the ones that are more important to us may not be more important to the ones that aren't on the spectrum. However, some of us autistics, as I said, will go on a daily schedule, be it on a timetable or whatever it may be throughout the day. Some of them may go through lists of to do, what's important, what's not important, and usually with that being said, they can balance out what ones needs to have more energy, focus, and which doesn't. And in saying this, hopefully that if someone can gently remind us now and again when it comes down to this, to actually say, hey, just take a break now and again, or gently remind us, here, say, about it, and see how we go. Because obviously, you know, many of us just self-absorbed into the one thing of our obsessions or interests or what have you. As I said before, many of us do this, and it's not a bad thing sometimes, but some people may think it is. But that's where we roll in one of our traits. We, as I said before, and I can't clearly stress it enough, and one of the traits is that sometimes we will be the attention to detail, focusing on all these details that may have the faults and flaws or errors or mistakes, picking out the mistakes and actually tell you guys, or problem solve, or whatever it may be that arises, hopefully. Number 3, or should we say number 4, I should say, reward of effort on something new is a good result. What I'm meaning here is basically, we know praising in itself can reinforce the positive behaviour or some form of a success that has been made within us, regardless what it may be. But then we got to remember though, however, this can bounce back to reinforce the success rather than the learning process. So therefore, I'm saying this, what I'm saying, instead of basically you come out to say, you know, a pat on the back and just say, you know, you've done really well, or whatever it may be, you could reinvert the word saying, you worked hard on the worked hard to learn on the subject matter. You know, if you can reinforce the different way of how you say things, again, as I said before, we're all literal thinkers one way or another, or we're black and white thinking and whatnot. Some people think, you know, we should get out of it, but sometimes some autistics are maybe happy the way they are, so just accept for who and what they are, regardless if they're black and white thinkers or they're all or nothing, or whatever trait that they're strongly showing in that autistic spectrum. Because at the end of the day, you may, as I said before, you may learn something along the way of how their world works, hopefully, when you observe their quirks and their traits and everything else, because it's like, again, acceptance is key here, as well as inclusion, which I'm going to hopefully discuss more about, maybe inclusion and everything else yet again, of some parts I may have missed in one part of the video that I did on this, so stay tuned for that if you're interested in this particular topic. Right, number 6, finding a job that entails you to be a perfectionist, or a perfectionist, and actually doing one set of tasks one way or another. What I mean here is certain jobs today can be repetitive for some of us, regardless what it may be. Some of us likes to have a style of repetition throughout the day. Some may think, for people that are outside on the spectrum, this is just too boring for you guys, or whatever. I understand that some of you may want a bit of fun and excitement and do a bit of variation. Some autistics are like that too, but you got to be in mind, some autistics doesn't like a quick sudden change. They need to adapt to these changes around them, regardless what it is, however, where they are and what it is. Here, say maybe a task that they're doing, and some of these jobs that requires repetition could be stacking shelves, could be counting up money. Some of the other everyday tasks is probably the washing dishes as a kitchen hand, that's cleaning around the surface areas in the kitchen versus maybe in a restaurant. Regardless what it may be, as I said, this is one that will entail it. Number 7, remind them of the truth. We know our brain is an amazing tool. It can obviously let us down with the negative thinking or lift us up, depending on our thought patterns. Obviously, it's up to us how we're going to go about it. Do we want to accept these negativity or the positivity? It's about freeway balance. If you're telling something over and over again as a repetition in your brain, regardless what it may be, hopefully it will instill in you, and then you'll begin to internalize it and actually accept that. Regardless what it may be, here say you could, by rights, if you were trying to bring up yourself with positivity, as well as hopefully maybe with the help of your support of your friends or family or whoever you're around with, this can actually ring true and actually bring the best out of you. But in saying this, if you're with a child as they're, transitioning to, a teen, adult, whatever, or whoever you're with that are on the spectrum, make sure that the message you're saying is the downright truth. Because obviously you're leading me by example, and you can't forever lie, because I'm sure as how some children will pick it up eventually and just either A, believe the unbelievable of what you fed them in the first place. Number 8, I think I'm up to in this, is to find the best effort and good enough of these two terms. Some of what it means is best effort can mean anything, ranging from what I can recall is working diligently for a reasonable amount of time and putting a bit of afterthought into that task. However, on the other hand, it may mean for others, especially the maladaptive perfectionist, working until it's perfect, or I will have a mental breakdown. I know it sounds really harsh, but then we need to just be in mind of these key differences of, as I said before, of these definitions. Help your child or whoever you are with, whenever to define what a healthy best effort is, on the other hand, would look like, and when something is good enough to you or to them. Make sure they understood that they don't have to do things perfectly to succeed. It's okay to, again, fail, because obviously failure is our life lessons and our teachers. It's okay to fail once again, because time and time again, because obviously, in saying this, hopefully from these mistakes we can learn from them and move quickly from them, and not to dwell on them, and maybe find another way of actually going about these mistakes or what have you. Number 10. Provide plenty of time, within reason. We know that waving a magic wand won't forever make the perfectionism disappear, or to change it up, the tendencies overnight. But however, to help your child to learn, or whoever to learn, to let things go, we need to give plenty of time to complete the task. But also, we need to put a limit on some of it so they can avoid overdoing it. That will lead to the exhaustion, meltdowns, or whatever it may be of these roller coaster of emotions, regardless how we feel. Again, this is tip number 11, I think I'm up to. Give them a visual way to gauge through the progress of something. This is similar to what I was just saying before, that autistics are visual learners like many other people on the spectrum, or not just on the spectrum, but shall I say off the spectrum. So maybe creating a visual of some kind, regardless what it is, as I said before, to help them literally see that as they learn something new, they can gradually, hopefully, begin to make fewer mistakes. And saying this though, allow those mistakes to happen. This should hopefully then teach them that learning is a process and not an event or a race to the finish line that, you know, they want to just finish in general. And last but not least, be patient. This is an important one. Many people tend to have the tendency to be really impatient, regardless what it is. Everything is a timely process, you know, of what we learn. You know, everybody learns at a different pace, whatever it may be, and that we need to know how to help these people. So hopefully this will give you a heads up to how you're going to help people on the spectrum, as well as just hopefully teachers or whoever may be watching this, to give you a fair understanding and all this. So, you know, smash the like button, as I said. Feel free to comment below. Feel free to share these videos around. Feel free to follow me on my social medias that are listed in the description bar. Don't forget to also, as I said, if you want to see more, to basically subscribe if you feel to join me on the bandwagon with my journey with autism and that, see what I get up to by also turning on the notification bell. Feel free to share these videos around, because I know for a fact there will be some videos that needs to be shared about, regardless of these topics of autism and some other ones, hopefully, that will come up eventually. I will hopefully also bring out some fun in the next few weeks for you guys. I can't always guarantee it, but it will just depend how I feel, obviously, because I said to myself I need to get out and about, obviously, a bit more, which I'm trying to. So we'll just see where this will take me this year. Obviously, I've certain things, you know, be it if it's with that person that you see me hanging around with, that's you see before things happen between him and I, you know who he is, hopefully, Father Light, or even just hopefully see what's available locally and outside my area, and, you know, see if I can bring you for the ride, even though I missed out a few activities that I was hoping to bring you to, even though it was my favourite stuff or passions where it lies. But hopefully it will come again, maybe here where I am, but who knows, I'll just have to talk it out with some people, maybe. But then again, also I'll let you know what's going down also in the next video, of also about what's happening in the next few weeks for me. So enough for the do, guys. Thanks for support, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out, and I'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.